Welcome to the Pello Perspective podcast, episode 7. My name's Michael Dowling, and today we're here again with Chris Panisi. Chris, wonderful Christmas.
Yeah, it was great. How about yourself?
Yeah, mate, it was fantastic. Obviously having quite a few weeks off. Very rarely in real estate do we get downtime, so it's always good to have that sort of 3 weeks off and reset and refresh. It feels like it was yesterday, but we're in February already.
Mate, I was going to say distant memory, but anyway.
Yeah, it's full on. We're back into it. So Obviously we've had open homes since the week before. How have you found things?
It's been absolutely non-stop. I mean, from 5th of January, I came back in and thought it would have been an ease into things. And yeah, first Saturdays, we were getting 20 and 30 groups of people coming through, and people sort of, I guess, saying firstly that there wasn't much available, but also that it was sort of like new year, new me, let's go, I want to buy the house. So a lot of people...
Yeah, that New Year's resolution.
Yeah, probably have a Christmas of, not happy with this house, so let's go and sort of get on to the next thing. So yeah, it's been pretty interesting actually.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's rather interesting. I also sort of see a trend already, I suppose, from early January, from when you were saying open homes sort of kicked off and some buyer appointments, to the last 2 weekends of open homes. I've found that the buying pool has really accelerated. Like, a lot of people are wanting to buy. Obviously, we've sold a couple of properties prior to the intended auctions as well. We'll talk about them in a second, but it's just been interesting how the buying pool is probably split into two: the really motivated ones and the ones that are still curious. So that's sped up really quickly, I suppose, this year, which is a sign of the times. We'll obviously dive into the interest rate situation a little later on as well, because I think that's probably had a little bit to do with that in certain ways. We've experienced some interest rate growth over the last 2 years, and what's happened in the last week is no different to previous trends that we've found as well. So we can discuss that a little bit. But I have found the market to be very frivolous early on, and people obviously wanting to buy and coming out asking when the next listing's coming on the market, and that's good. But I think what we're going to see is probably a little bit more activity as well as people start to get back into their normal rhythm of life, and kids back at school, and obviously lifestyle, going back to work and so on, getting back into that routine. I think as the normality comes back, people will probably get a lot more serious at that too. So that buying camp will probably keep growing, I'm feeling.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing the same thing. And I think it's really just a lot of families wanting to either get into the right spot closer to work, school, whatever it is they need, or if they need that extra bedroom, it's kind of really, they're out looking for that intently right now.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing that's come up quite a few times is properties that are already renovated, already updated. It seems to be that obviously after, similar to what you mentioned before, after Christmas, they might have been in a house where they are thinking, do I renovate or do I move? And now they've decided to buy something that's ready to move. There's a lot of people out there that just want that turnkey property that they can just move in and enjoy without spending any money.
Yeah.
That seems to be a bit of a trend too.
I think if you look at it like you or I with kids, family, like, if I asked you to go and paint your own house or do a renovation, like, I think...
Oh, mate, I can't do anything on my own.
You wouldn't, even if you had to hire someone though, you wouldn't find the time, or the inclination to do it. So there's a lot of people at the moment that are in that boat with kids, and it's just all consuming. So a lot of people, rather than renovating, doing a major renovation or building, they are just looking at that, how do I trade up and, move. We're getting a lot of people moving from other areas like the inner west or lower north shore, where prices are higher, and they're moving from that smaller, older property, trading that in, and then buying something in the Ryde or Gladesville area, which is almost like a neutral trade, or in some cases they've got money left over, but they're buying something that's newer than what they're currently in. So we're seeing heaps of that at the moment too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's just going to continue. I think that's probably a sign of things to come.
Yeah. I mean, are there any other trends that you're sort of noticing early on at the moment?
Probably the only other thing I'm noticing is similar to yourself, like the cost of renovations, the cost of extensions. There's no doubt that people are trying to move for a better lifestyle, not to sort of, fork out extra money after they're already sort of bidding at auction or paying what they feel is an exorbitant price. So I'm definitely noticing that being part of that decision-making as well. And a lot of the conversations are coming back to, well, if I have to pay this for the house, and Michael, what's stamp duty on top of that? And then there's a lot of people that are counting the pennies and the dimes at the moment, so they just don't want to spend that extra when they move into the house.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing that. I think another thing I've seen a lot of is I'm almost calling it like an early downsize. So people have got kids maybe towards the end of high school, might be in their late 40s or early 50s, and have a house that maybe they've been in for 10, 15, 20 years, might need a bit of renovation, or it's a neat house, has a big backyard. And a lot of those people that are buying new duplexes from us are that crowd. They're selling in, trading that house in. There's a couple of families I know have sold their big family home, 3.5, 4.5 million, and just paid down that mortgage a little bit, bought something that's just as nice internally, but has a little bit less land. And that's allowed them other lifestyle options, whether it's just to work a bit less, go overseas, do whatever it is, help the kids out. There's a lot of that happening where downsizing used to be thought of as someone 60 plus only was doing it. Empty nesters. But people are doing that even with kids, and I think as kids these days find it harder to buy a house, they're staying home longer. So that it's kind of that, I don't know, almost like retiring early or semi-retiring early. Yeah,
I think you nailed it. So Chris, we've started the year kind of a lot faster than probably other years. We've already had 2 sales prior to the intended auctions. Obviously, notably 27 Blenheim Road in North Ryde. That was a wonderful 5-bedroom, brand new duplex. It was on the market with another agent last year. We've taken the property back on the market early January, got some good momentum in the marketing, and sold for an amazing price prior to auction. Do you want to elaborate on how that happened? Because that was a pretty phenomenal campaign to kick the year off.
Really, it was a beautifully presented place. We were sort of scratching our heads last year as to why it didn't get a higher price, but bringing people through was part of what I was just saying. We were getting 20 or 30 people through a weekend. I think it was just taking it one conversation at a time was maybe the only thing I could think of that we did differently. So being present at open homes and doing lots of private inspections. I mean, I was showing it.
Private appointments probably is a big catch.
A big one.
Not just relying on the open homes.
Yeah.
I think from the numbers that I was looking at, I think we've done just over 20 private one-on-one appointments at that property. So getting people away from the open homes, privately, one-on-one, sort of just liaising and solving their problem live.
And it's so easy to do during summer. Like it's daylight savings, like showing someone at 7:30 at night, you still got daylight there. They can still see the property and, shining through all those benefits. But, we met a young couple who'd been looking in the inner west. So similar to what I was saying before, been priced out of a lot of markets over there. And, they're getting quite frustrated, and sort of as Ryde and North Ryde was somewhere that they knew from their childhood, they thought they'd give it a go. And I guess one thing led to another, but it's a pretty strong price compared to where it got to last year. Like I think,
what was the difference?
Last year I think they got to 2.85 as an offer. And then this one finished up at 3,022,500. So
wow, big difference.
They've thrown every cent at it, as you can see. So,
in January, which at the end of the day, some people say you shouldn't put your property on the market in January. I think January is a great time because you get a lot of the eyeballs, and like we've spoken about, people coming back wanting to make a move. So I think, I think the proof's in the pudding, isn't it?
Yeah. Also, the owners, I think, have to be commended for the trust. Like it was on the market 3 or 4 months leading into November, December. And their view is, are we doing this too soon? Should we wait 3 months? And it's easy for an agent just to say, oh, no, it'll be fine and all of that. But we were seeing really strong interest in the property even when we're showing it pre-market. So it just felt like running a campaign was the best way to get all the buyers out of the woodwork and have those discussions.
Yeah, and selling a duplex in North Ryde on a slightly busier road over 3 million, that doesn't happen too many times.
No.
So would you say the buyer has fallen in love with the place and just threw a number out, or do you think it's just that organic competition that was created prior to the auction?
Probably a bit of both, really. I think their experience was they weren't a big fan of auctions. We did have quite a few people interested in the property, so there was genuine and transparent competition. It wasn't sort of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think they did fall in love with it. So they brought lots of family through and got all the opinions up front and all those sorts of things. And we gave them time. It sort of evolved over about a week and a half, but gave them time to come and look at it by themselves. Like I said, that 7 o'clock appointment, and just allow them the space to kind of imagine themselves living there. And I think that's really all it was. There was no tricks or anything like that.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the location probably brought a bit of love as well.
Yeah.
Even if it is a slightly busy road, having the North Ryde Metro around the corner now, like that pocket of North Ryde is definitely generating a lot of competition at the moment.
For sure.
So, yeah, like you said, last year, a little bit shocked it didn't sell. But I think sometimes with the right strategy, right agent, right timing, things can change very, very quickly. So, great result.
I say a lot. I think it's everyone does open homes. It's what else can you do? And the private inspections is one thing, but I think it's just that 1% difference around attention to detail that sometimes makes all the difference.
Yeah, 100%.
So probably
couldn't agree more.
Probably similar to your sale at Morrison Road. I mean, you were the one first time around, but getting that sold before auction when some people would probably just let it go through to auction.
Well, I think it wasn't an easy one because it was on Morrison Road.
Yeah. Nicely
presented house, but obviously needed a bit of a freshen up, a bit of a renovation. Good sized block, but being on Morrison Road with only a 13 metre frontage, it doesn't tick those boxes for the duplex capabilities and things like that. So mostly had young families interested in it. And obviously from a sale point of view, I think, again, the strategy worked really well. We had 3 significant buyers prior to auction, and one of them, to their credit, made a really strong play at the property over the Australia Day long weekend. And very rarely do you get a buyer that sort of wants to negotiate over that long weekend and sort of buy, but they really, really wanted the property. And they brought an offer forward on a contract with a 66W on the Saturday afternoon after the open home, strategically, I think.
Smart, very smart.
Very, very smart. And because it was a good enough offer that was too good to refuse, the owner didn't really want to wait another week or sort of give that buyer the time to sort of maybe cool their heels and cool down. So we ended up selling it at 10 p.m. on that Saturday. We got the buyer up from 2.7 to 2,855,000, and phenomenal result for the owner.
Sure.
That's obviously credit to the owner making a quick decision and not wanting to take the risk and maybe let the buyer cool off between then and Tuesday. The other 2 buyers were disappointed, but once they found out the price and obviously they could understand that the owner, obviously bird in the hand scenario, wanted to take it and run. But that's genuinely how I think you should buy a property as well.
Yep.
Like, I think us agents, we take buyers a lot more serious if they're sort of working with either a buyer's agent or with 66Ws and understand how to put an offer forward prior to auction. And it does put the ball in their court a little bit when it comes to a pre-auction negotiation. So
but it's also just having that conversation. Like it's even before that, you get a lot of people, whether it's that sale one we mentioned before, you get a lot of people that come in and it's almost like they're maybe a bit scared to approach, or they're not sure how to approach it, or they've been taught you have to be a bit standoffish or don't show your cards or any of that sort of thing. And then they kind of, unfortunately, get kind of lost in the noise, and then you'll get 1 or 2 people like, hey, I want to buy this. And taking that approach where you're straightforward. I know it's risky because certain agents you can go and do that and, I don't know, be used, but in many cases we've found that the most forthcoming, sort of open and honest people that say, hey, here's my situation.
Transparency wins out.
It's pretty easy to help
time.
them. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, a common question I get at all of my properties is, would this owner sell prior to auction? And to me, it's a very, very simple answer. Like, the reality is that at the right price, every owner would sell prior to auction. It's not a game. They're here to sell the property. So at the right price, they would sell before auction, whereas at the wrong price, they're probably just going to roll the dice and see what happens on the day. So, but we do get those questions a lot, and we do obviously, I can see the cat and mouse that goes on because of probably the way they're treated with other agents out there. So we do understand there's different tactics and different things that agents might use, but definitely transparency wins every day of the week, and that buyer, they really put their best foot forward. So it was a great result for that owner, and 2 good sales to sort of kick the year off. And it's going to be interesting. We've got eight auctions this weekend, and then we've got another 7 the week after. So it's going to be really interesting to see how February plays out.
Going to be pretty busy, I reckon.
Definitely. So there's been a lot of talk to start the year off, and I suppose end of last year as well, about the interest rate situation and sort of what's going to happen this year on the back of that. Obviously, last week or start of this week, we've had the interest rates rise. And I don't think this is going to be the end of it, but the reality is there's still discussion around what will happen and a lot of forecasting. It's really interesting at the moment because on our side of the fence, like when this happened last time, I feel as though buyers kind of split into two camps, and it'd be great to hear your experience, but I'm finding that the same thing's already happening in the last 3 days. Like since the interest rates went up and that announcement was made, I've had 5 buyers come forward and make pre-auction offers on properties that prior to that, I thought were going to wait till auction. And I find the two camps that I see buyers fall into is this wait and watch camp, where they become a bit indecisive and a bit unsure and do I or don't I? And then the other camp is a pedal to the metal. I've got to buy tomorrow and I'm happy to buy now. I see the market might go up, and I also see that my pre-approval might not be valid in 4 weeks' time and 6 weeks' time, so I don't want to take any chances. Are you finding the same sort of thing happening already?
Yeah, I think you've nailed it, especially that last comment. I think a lot of people who have a pre-approval, they want a certain type of house or they need to get a certain size or into a certain price bracket, and if they wait for the interest rates to go up, they have to be reassessed, they can't borrow as much, and then they're sort of sitting on the sidelines. And that's especially true if somebody's already sold a property. We do get, like you said, two camps from buyers, but also two camps from people buying and selling, where some absolutely need to find the next place to go to first, and then others will sell so they know how much they have, stay with family and rent, and then buy. And if you have sold and you've cashed in, then interest rates are going up and your borrowing power might go down. That could be a scary thing. So it's probably that uncertainty because, like you said, we've seen markets where interest rates have negatively impacted prices. Then we saw most recently when we had 12 interest rate rises, it felt like the market was going up with it.
Yeah, well, 10 or 11 in a row, and the market went up by 10% in the same time period.
Who'd guess that? It just doesn't make sense. But at the same time, I think it's for us, we're not economists. We're here to help people make decisions around buying the right family home. I think if you're looking at it as a 2-year strategy, or I'm going to try and buy property at the top or the bottom of the market or wherever it is, you're really going to miss out, and you'll rarely know that you're there. Even as us at the coalface, it's hard to predict that. So you're better off not buying in a rush, but buying the right property for you, and just being there for 5, 7, 10 years. I think the hard part is for people that have stretched themselves over the last 2 years, and then they've now had interest rate rises. It has made it more difficult.
That's correct. We will see that side of things happen as well. Ultimately, what happened when we had those multiple interest rate rises in a row 2 years ago was people did get to a stage where they were kind of do I or don't I sell, because the mortgage was stretched, the repayments were stretched, the lifestyle changed. And I think we'll see that again because people have held on and decided I'll stay there, but now push comes to shove again and they might decide to let go. So we'll probably see those sellers enter into the market. Ultimately also, I don't think the supply is going to increase dramatically, because a lot of the people that are sitting on the fence in regards to the do I or don't I move, they tend to probably just shackle down and be happy with the house that they're in for the next 6 months and just want to sort of see how that outlook looks. So I don't think we see a massive increase, and we haven't in the past. So I'm not foreseeing a massive amount of stock coming on the market this year. I think it's going to be probably more of a stable supply base. So buyers that are out there buying, it does feel as though if you see the one you like, don't hope for another cheaper one around the corner to be available anytime soon. And make some quick decisions.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think, continuously waiting for a better deal for the same property when this one suits you, it's always a hard thing to predict. It's certain styles of property, we get new ones coming up every week, and then other styles of property will be lucky to have another one come up in 6 months. So it is a bit of a mixed bag, but it's obviously I think people that are getting out there making those moves and not hesitating and sitting there and trying to analyze, they're probably the best off.
100%. I think, I mean, we won't name any names, but there's multiple buyers that were looking sort of 2-3 years ago that only bought end of last year. And unfortunately, the prices that they were looking at 3 years ago were completely different to what they were buying and the type of property that they have ended up having to buy.
Yeah.
One of them bought on Victoria Road because obviously it's the best property in their price range as far as a house that they could afford because the market had moved that much.
Yeah.
So you do see those circumstances change when you try and pick the bottom of the market.
Yeah.
And like you said, we're not economists, and if I could have a crystal ball and figure out where the market's going to be, I don't think I'd be in real estate. So
exactly.
That's what I try and tell every buyer out there is they wouldn't be buying this home if they could forecast things. They might be as good as Warren Buffett or someone else, but the reality is they're not on a yacht on a deserted island living the ultimate lifestyle. The reality is that you can't read the future.
Yeah.
So obviously the market has started really strong, and as we mentioned earlier, you kind of blink and it's already February. Given obviously we're at the start of the year, what tips could you give people, Chris, that are out there thinking about do I or don't I, and when is the best time to sell? How quickly do I need to get my property on the market to make certain moves possible? Given that it is early in the year, what's some ideal trends that you're expecting to happen this year?
It's, as we said, because things have happened quickly, I think it's being organised. I've got a bunch of clients at the moment that we're helping. They're not on the market yet. We're helping get the place presented, just lending an ear, working through any concerns that they have, and also doing some research about where they're moving to, trying to help them with that whole
with the timing
situation. Whether it's local, up the coast, interstate, like just reaching out and sorting all that out for them to help out, make them feel confident about it. I think those people will probably beat the traffic jam that ends up happening around Easter, where a lot of people rush and don't take that extra time to present the house properly, and we'll rush it in March, and then people that miss out, well, then there'll be a whole bunch of stuff that comes on mid to late April. So a lot of the clients that are going to be ahead of the game are sort of already chatting to me now, and probably the same for you, I'd say, as well.
Yeah, and obviously we quite fortunate that we get to help a lot of people out with that timing. So renovating, like cosmetically, like paint jobs, and making sure that any little handyman details and gardens and things, we want properties to look the best. But ultimately, you're quite right. Like I said, we've kind of blinked and January's finished, and before we know it, we're going to be in March, and Easter is only going to be around the corner. If you look at a typical campaign being 4 weeks, we generally try and bring through the best buyers on most properties, even off market, prior to see if we can get some momentum even off market while we're doing those final works. So realistically, to sell before Easter, you've got to be on the market last week in February or very first week in March. If you don't get that sort of April period, when's the next time to sell? Like, would you sell in April, do you say, or what would you suggest?
I think if the market's going well, you can kind of sell anytime, right? I think it's when it's a balanced market like we're seeing now, where there seems to be enough supply, where buyers don't have to rush and buy anything, which is good. We always see the time before the biggest rushes as a really good time. That's why I think you and I have always done fairly well in February and even August, where it's kind of like right before those rush periods. But it's always going to be different for everyone, right? We can't just say, a lot of people just say, I'm only going to sell in spring. And you say, well, why is that? Flowers are going to look better. It's like, well, what flowers do you have planted in your backyard? I don't have any flowers, but it's just, it's a better time. That's what I heard. It's like sometimes breaking those misconceptions or things that you've been taught, or just talking to someone about it, where what times during the year, if I've had clients come to me and say, I can't do anything in the next 3 months. It's just not possible. But let's pick out a couple of months during the year where you think it would work well, both from a family timing point of view, but also from a market timing point of view. And as you mentioned, testing it with some people that are looking to buy before the property hits the market. So we can say, this is what we're saying. People will probably come in around this price. They like what you've done with the paint job or the renovation or the front fence or whatever it is, and really test that stuff. Or, your property's lacking here and people are bringing that up. So let's go and put some furniture in this room or do this or do that. But the worst thing you could do is just say, okay, I'm selling next week. I'm going to call an agent or 2 or 3, get them all out. And then we're going to have the property on the market in a week. It's like, slow it down or get prepared and get a little bit more advice from someone who sees it every day. And the most annoying thing is standing in a house for 4 weeks, hearing the same negative feedback when you're like, we could have done something about that before.
Created a better feeling.
It's just frustrating. So
definitely. And I think a lot of the stuff that, as we creep up to Easter, for example, it's very similar to January. Like a lot of the properties that we're selling in January and showing in January are properties that launch sort of end of January, start of February.
Yeah.
So April's typical for that as well. Like it's definitely a time. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, we sold a lot of properties the week before the Easter long weekend and then the week after. And it wasn't, Easter was really more probably just like a 2-day, 3-day holiday period rather than a 2-week school holiday period.
Yeah.
So I think every year it can be different, but like you said, keeping those sort of communications flowing and strategies around when and how, and showing a few buyers through off market and getting that live feedback is always important.
Yeah.
They can always pull the handbrake up and wait another month if they're getting the wrong feedback, but at least we've got that proactivity around it.
For sure.
Thanks for tuning in and listening to this episode of the Pello Perspective podcast. It's been exciting to journey through the start of the year, and we're really looking forward to obviously the up and coming auctions over the next sort of 4 to 8 weeks. And next episode, we will be introducing some more special guests this year as well, and bringing some tips and tricks to the podcast in regards to how to maximize your sale price and obviously the things that are going on in the Ryde and Gladesville community. If we can help out at all, give us a call. Otherwise, you can tune in and download our episodes on any of your podcast channels.